Hi, my name is Kendall. I'm here today with Team 2, and we are here on behalf of the Managerial Ethics and Stakeholder Management course at the University of Pittsburgh. We are presenting to you our findings with the ethical policies at these three companies, one being Ernst&Young, two K&L Gates, and finally UPMC. We're going to be starting off by talking about Ernst&Young.
Hi, I'm Andrew, and I'm going to talk about Ernst&Young's policies and procedures regarding ethics. Ernst&Young has a global code of conduct. The code of conduct is supposed to be consulted during everyday, day-to-day activities. It's the basis for all ethical happenings at Ernst&Young. Every employee is required to read and sign the code of conduct every year. This is a compliance-based approach. It relies on laws, regulations, and signatures are required. This enables Ernst&Young to be aware that every employee has seen it and has no excuse for not following its policies. Senior leaders in management are expected to set the ethical tone. Ernst&Young believes the ethics will start on top and carry on down through the organization. Integrity is important in the hiring process. They do not want any grenades at Ernst&Young, no people who are going rogue and not following the ethical procedures. They believe that they need to set the stage for an environment where they can discuss ethical dilemmas and work out the best possible solutions. Dealing with ethical issues. They promote a culture of consultation. They want employees to ask questions to the upper management and people at the top when they come across dilemmas, and they want them appropriately resolved. They want open dialogue because without it, if there's fear of upper management, employees may panic and make poor ethical decisions. They're encouraged to bring up concerns directly, but an anonymous ethics hotline is available if employees feel uncomfortable raising their concerns. This is good in case there's a conflict of interest, and the hotline is run by a third party, which enables employees to feel confident that their identity will remain confidential. Also helps whistleblowers to come forward in times of crisis. They have two formal committees dealing with ethical issues, the Office of Ethics and Compliance and the Oversight Board, both of whom deal with the day-to-day ethics at the business and form and mold their policies each year. Employees are encouraged to collaborate in situations where ethical issues may be unclear. This is a driver of engagement because employees are actively involved in the decision-making process. It's a hands-on approach. It enables them to really be a part of dealing with ethical problems, so that they aren't removed and don't just feel like they're passing off their issues to somebody else. They're in there solving it, and it also enables them to seek the opinions of others and get insight and help from other employees. Any violation of the global code can result in termination, and it applies to every level, from upper management to lower employees. Great example of the equity theory at work, where every employee is treated equal regardless of status. Rewards for good ethical behavior. The biggest ethical award that Ernst&Young gives out is the Chairman's Values Award. It's one of the top honors in the organization to receive this award. It's given to employees that best exemplify UI's values of integrity, respect, and teaming. Now there's some awards, the UI Entrepreneur of the Year. This award's a little bit more based upon innovation and success, but it also, a key aspect of it is integrity and respect and upholding UI's values. Awards at UI do not just focus on the bottom line, they are focused on integrity and respect, which is key in establishing ethics as an important part of their business. Corporate social responsibility. In Pittsburgh, they have Team EY. They participate in the Pittsburgh Marathon to raise money for charities. In America as a whole, they have College Map. It's a team model mentoring for students in underserved areas who are going through the college application process. It includes mentoring, financial support, and other supplies and means that they may need to further their education. There's similar things going on globally in Africa with women who are in rough areas who can be leaders, and in Australia in the areas of science and technology. Some recommendations. We believe that the code of conduct should be more specific about discrimination and harassment. It's a little bit vague and doesn't deal with these issues directly. More awareness of informal systems that exist in UI. They do not talk about role models or any type of company rituals. And we also believe that a more clear code of discipline would be good for lesser offenses that would not result in termination, because the code is not clear with how those type of issues are dealt with or how those employees are punished. That concludes our findings on Ernst&Young, and I will now pass it off to John, who will talk about K&L Gates.
Hi, I'm John, and I will be speaking about K&L Gates policy and procedure for ethics. They're put in place by law, but being such a large law firm, they, with over $1 billion in revenue and 40 offices across the world, they have to act as both a law firm and a business. So they have to follow ethics policies tailored for both their law side and their business side. There's a general global council dedicated to overview and ethical policy compliance for everybody in the organization. And there's a team of people dedicated to research quality clients. The client quality is the type of individual that the law firm brings in as a new client and whether or not that person's morals and behaviors are in line with the ethical regularities of the organization. For non-compliance with ethical procedures, in the event that an employee does not comply with the law or the ethical procedures set in place by K&L Gates, every case is dealt on a case-by-case basis, and judgment is essentially the biggest call. Each one is situationally dependent. However, for globally, Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, especially anti-bribery laws for bribing public officials, these are a very, very big deal for K&L Gates, operating in so many different nations. So these ones are taken very, very seriously. In terms of questioning authority, there is an atmosphere of accountability throughout the entire organization. And there is an anonymous hotline by a third-party vendor set in place that employees can go to report any type of unethical behavior or any concerns of unethical behavior, and not have to worry about the fear of insubordination or going to a boss or an individual who might be involved with such unethical practice. And younger employees are especially encouraged to question unethical behavior, and in any case that they are confused or uncertain about some of the policies set in line, then they're also encouraged to ask senior and even just regular peer individuals at the organization. And now I'll be passing it off to John.
In regards to rituals and role models, K&L Gates doesn't seem to have any set rituals in place, but they have many seminars throughout the year where both internal speakers through the organization speak, as well as they have some external speakers come in to discuss ethical policies and new laws. In regards to the role models, their senior partners are definitely play the biggest role in role models for the organization. Big cases that they win, and I guess even a few cases lost, they love to relate them to war stories. As our representative said, lawyers love war stories. One of their other biggest role models is Dick Thornburg. Dick Thornburg was a PA state governor as well as U.S. Attorney General for a few years. He started his career at K&L Gates, and he's still highly regarded as one of their role models. In regards to conflict of interest, they have a strict policy that basically their employees, all the attorneys and other employees, they're not allowed to purchase or sell any stock with companies that they're working with at that time, or even a few months after they've been working with them, so that they don't get in trouble with any kind of insider trading laws. With the CSR, K&L Gates definitely takes CSR very seriously. They have a Global Day of Service, which they started a few years ago, which is a day that they dedicate to the entire community of K&L Gates to help out with the surrounding communities where their organizations are. They also have a pro bono service program, which encourages attorneys to help with less privileged clients, people that can't afford their services. So some recommendations we had for K&L Gates in regards to their ethical policies. The only thing we really found was they could develop a more clear-cut system with reprimanding individuals for their unethical behavior instead of using a more just judgment-based system. Next, I'm going to have Zach come up and talk about UPMC.
I'm going to be telling you guys today a little bit more about UPMC's ethical policies. We met with Lynn Swanson. She's the Chief Audit and Compliance Officer within UPMC. UPMC has a code of conduct policy in place. This policy is based off the written guidelines and their values within the company, which are vision, ethics, and mission. They rely on upper management to set ethical standards at the forefront of their operation. They feel that's the best way to get lower level employees to follow this ethical policy. Their ethical procedure soundness is very important to them to ensure that their patients receive care with integrity, honesty, and respect. Lynn has a team in place that actively investigates all ethical issues within the company. These ethics officers are also assigned to the accounting department to ensure that there is no falsification of numbers within that. They also have, they also require employees to report all issues within the company. Employees are encouraged to make a written report if any ethical issues arise. Employees are able to submit these reports with amnesty. They could also do it through a compliance hotline or just submit them anonymously. They want to make sure that these reports are safe by taking the correct actions to ensure that identity is not revealed if it's not wanted to be. Also regarding like false allegations with whistleblowing, anybody who falsifies any type of ethical issue is subject to termination immediately. And also retaliation against a whistleblower requires investigation of the entire circumstance. Next, I'm going to pass it off to Eric.
Now I'll be talking about how UPMC maintains their high ethical standards. Their system for maintaining standards is automatic. It is a system of regular checks on their ethical behavior. UPMC employees all have at least one evaluation per year in which their decisions, especially ethical decisions, are judged. Every person is held accountable individually. This isn't a departmental ethical check, it is each person, making sure that everyone is held accountable and there's no diffusion of responsibility. UPMC tries to prevent conflicts of interest. Being a hospital, conflicts of interest is one of the most important ethical issues, being that pharmaceutical companies work hand in hand with physicians. Any conflict there could result in unethical prescribing of prescriptions, pitching of drugs. Each new medication that is brought is basically checked by an attorney to make sure that there was no conflict between the pharmaceutical companies and the physicians. And UPMC has very strong research and ethical guidelines in terms of conflicts of interest to make sure there is no gray area about what is acceptable and what is not. CSR is another aspect of UPMC that they hold very highly. UPMC is a very large hospital. It's all across Pittsburgh. It's also in different parts of Western Pennsylvania as long as other countries. They look at each community that it is a part of, and they look at how they can specifically meet the needs of that community. UPMC encourages all employees to be involved in charity. They strongly encourage them to go out, help their community, give back to less fortunate people. In 2014, UPMC contributed a total of $888 million to the community. $100 million of that went to the Pittsburgh Promise, which helps Pittsburgh public schools send their students to higher education, helps make costs more affordable. UPMC also makes sure that they provide health care at an affordable cost to their patients. Patients that have financial need will often get assistance to help pay their medical bills. Next, I'm going to discuss the recommendations we have for UPMC in terms of their ethics program. While they provided a large amount of money to its community in their CSR program, we feel like there could still be more they could do. We feel like if they had organized community events in which they actively got their employees out and helping the community could be a big benefit to the company and their image. One issue with their image is that they don't do enough to help the community they're in, and they sort of take advantage of them. We feel like this could be one way that they could really help themselves while giving back to the community.
We looked at all three firms. We found some similarities amongst them. All three firms had a third-party hotline which they use to be able to report ethical issues for people who want to maintain, their identity and not let it be revealed that they were the ones reporting it. Also, all three firms take CSR very seriously, and they've developed some programs in order to implement this, CSR. Specifically, UPMC works with the Pittsburgh Promise for public school students that are seeking higher education. K&L Gates has a day where it's called the Global Day of Service, in which they help out, the community. And then also Ernst&Young has developed a mentoring and education program for underprivileged youth. When we looked at the three firms again and tried to find the contrasting differences, within the unethical procedures, UPMC had a performance and evaluation and recommendation thing that they used in order to evaluate employees throughout the year. Also, K&L Gates had a judgment-based ethical violation procedure, which none of the two other firms had. And then also Ernst&Young requires a signature of each employee every year after receiving their ethics policy to ensure that they've read it over and agree to comply with this.
All right, that concludes our findings for Team 2. We hope you found our presentation informative. Thank you for taking the time to listen to us. We'd also like to extend a thank you to our interviewees from Ernst&Young, K&L Gates, and UPMC. Stay ethical, my friends.